Teachers of Reddit. What's the coolest thing you've confiscated of a child? Educational assistant, but whatever. A makeshift taser. This kid had rigged up a taser using a couple of 9V batteries, wire, tape, and some sort of button from what could have been a toy. It wasn't dropping kids, but it was enough to make you jump. I was impressed, but also wanted to pull the little deuce's arms off and slap the snot out of him with his own arms, because he kept stabbing girls in the chest with it. Middle school kids are a weird point, where they are too smart for children, but are certainly not human. Middle school kids are a weird point, where they are too smart for children, but are certainly not human. This is truth. My kids are 3 years apart. I've been a parent of middle school kid for 6 years and I have 3 years left. I feel this in the very core of my being. One of my teachers took my yo-yo and tried to do a trick she once knew and smashed a window. I took 6 bullets off of a first grader. When I asked him where he got them, he said from the gun. I then asked how he got them out of the gun, and he made the movement with his hands that showed he ejected the shells. I took him to the office. While he was there, I checked his book bag to see if he had a gun in there. Nope, just a baggie full of credit cards with 15 different names on them. Nothing happened to the child or parent. I think that kid was Dean Winchester. A redback spider from the gently closed palm of a 7-year-old boy's hand almost every recess for a month before I figured out a way to make him stop. He was never bitten. What made him finally stop? I told him I'd keep him down to repeat year 2 if he did it again, because it's not very smart to kidnap a venomous spider away from its family. Live dragonflies. He was a little 4-year-old boy that would never listen to any of the rules and generally just cause a lot of trouble. Anyway, he would catch dragonflies without harming them. When you told him to release them, he would open his backpack and 2 or 3 dragonflies would fly out. The dragonfly kid. You would not believe your eyes. Well, this is my mucking time to shine. My coworker and I had a mild prank war going on. Somehow, the students caught wind and decided to instigate by stealing things from his room and taking it to mine and vice versa. Here are some of the things I've had to take from them and return to him. His car keys, his entire desktop computer, portraits of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, pumpkins from his Halloween decorations, his desk chair, his car keys again, a student desk, his travel mug with his name on it. At this point I'm convinced my coworker just doesn't want his car. And somehow, in the 5 minutes between his class and mine, they managed to flip all the desks in his classroom upside down. I'm not making this up. Flipped all the desks upside down. Freaking legends, all of them. Scorpion in a jar. The kid had put in leaves, twigs and even some smaller bugs for it to eat. Made a real habitat. However, he was clumsy as hell and had a top locker above a concrete floor. No way I was going to risk him smashing the jar and letting it loose in corridor. Gave it back to him at the end of the day with very clear instructions it was not to return to school. Eater. Yes, I'm in Australia, but in the south, so wasn't a particularly venomous scorpion. The sting would have caused about the same level of irritation as a bee sting, as for someone non-allergic. I was the kid, an imitation gun that used to belong to my grandfather. The thing was ancient and was a simple single-shot percussion cap pistol. The more I think about it as an older, less stupid person, the more I worry that it was an actual gun, since he was a policeman. Never got it back, that's for sure. You never got it back. Surely it was worth more than a couple dollars? Not a teacher, but my teacher took my Mighty Beans in 2010 and still hasn't given them back, so I'm guessing she thought they were pretty cool. Oh man. Mighty Beans. Holy deuce, my teacher did this too. I was so sad. It was one of the thick ones. A raw egg spray painted silver. A live bird caught outside. A homemade hand buzzer. A Luchada mask. Are your students the Penguin, Catwoman, the Joker and Bane? I like to imagine these are all from the same kid, on the same day. When I was a casual teacher I confiscated a knife from a 5-year-old. He threatened me with it when I tried to get him to do his work. It was my first week. What is a casual teacher? A duck's egg. It smelled horrible. She told me she found it in the park. It was winter. She was keeping it in her hat hoping it was still alive. Sorry, child. Oh, this is so sweet and innocent. Not a teacher, but one time a teacher confiscated a kid's PSP. It got stolen overnight, so she had to buy him a new one. Physics was tense from then on out. Damn, that sucks. Unless he stole it and then made the teacher buy him another one. Boom, instant profits. I always wonder what the teacher did with dad's 30 porn mag I brought to school when I was 7. It's probably why you got to leave early that day. There was a big conspiracy of exam paper trading going on around the area my school is located in. Some kid figured out a way to get the independent exam that several of the schools would purchase each year. He sold copies to anyone who would buy them, including our students. We confiscated a copy of the exam with a different school's logo on it before it was issued to our students. Eventually my school figured out we couldn't buy exams from this seller anymore, as the papers for most subjects, English, Maths, Chem etc., always made it to the kids through the black market. To my knowledge, the seller was never caught. Him just imaging a young Edward Snowden leaking the milk and then hiding out behind the bike sheds. My teacher confiscated a phone case. Just the phone case, not the phone. I've done that. Stupid floating glitter phone case 2 girls spent like 20 minutes playing with instead of doing their work. A lot of drugs. Some really awesome lighters. A number of flick knives. Knuckle dusters. And my personal favorite, a kitten. He found it on the way to school, brought it with him, and had it in his locker, with lots of airflow and a blanket for comfort. I caught him trying to smuggle a saucer of milk to it. We went on a school trip to New Mexico, and one kid found a dog running around on the res gas station we were at. He smuggled it into the back of the school van and the teacher didn't notice until we were about 30 miles out in the middle of nowhere, when he tried to sneak the dog some beef jerky. Teacher let him keep it because she couldn't justify dropping it off in BFE. I'm a teacher as well, and 2 years ago we had a girl smuggle in a little pit bull puppy. She tried to make a bed for it in her locker, but of course the little guy was terrified and yapped like crazy. We all took turns babysitting him until school ended and she could take him home. She found him wandering on the road on the way to school that morning and stopped to pick him up. He was super cute. I got busted selling envelopes of porn mag clippings. It went from 0 to 60 real quick, but the schools essentially pulled a Rico case on me. I would advertise by leaking some product and relying on word of mouth. In the bathrooms you'd see clippings taped in the stalls behind the doors. In my bag a dozen repurposed envelopes I stole from my mom to house a classified porn. This only lasted 3 days before it became a big issue, but after I was suspended it was like it never happened. Nobody talked about it because soon after you could just go online and look at porn on your phones. My teacher confiscated Vaseline because they were convinced it was an electronic device. What? Frozen water bottle full of frozen margarita he was passing to his friends. 8th grade homeroom, so 13-year-olds sharing a dicktail at 8 AM. It was actually kind of clever hiding in plain sight. It did just look like a bottle of frozen water, but my teacher since told me something was up. Girl in my high school got busted with a water bottle of vodka. Got busted because she kicked the bottle across the floor to another student. Instead of passing it in plain view like people would do with a normal water bottle. The odd behavior tipped the teacher. Girl had been bringing it 4 years without getting busted. My teacher since told me something was up. These children aren't usually drunk. Knives, drugs, boxing gloves brought to school for a fight club, homemade bong with no cone piece, shiv made from an offcut of some type of acrylic made in manual arts, spear made from a bed frame. I've taken a dog chain, a massive sharpened tent peg, razors and sharpened sticks off one kid. Yesterday at school my deputy principal also confiscated what a kid claimed was his drink bottle. A bottle of Jack Daniels filled with juice that looked like alcohol. I teach intermediate/middle school. An underground fight club at the school? Were bets being taken? Or was this just a death to the finish type thing? Also, how old are these kids? I get this awful visual in my head of kindergartners strapping up for a fight in the school basement just like in Fight Club. Not a teacher, but I once heard of a teacher who confiscated a WWII grenade, or something similar, off a kid who got it from his grandfather. Called Bomb Squad. Wasn't explosive. I think the kid got it back, and I'm assuming he got a good talking to about there's some stuff you shouldn't bring to school. Not a teacher, but when I was a student in 8th grade we made muzzle-loading weapons, very small pistols and tiny cannons, in woodworking class out of wood, scrap metal, springs, and matchboxes. We got the powder from dismantling fireworks, and used dried peas for ammo. We got the idea from watching Hornblower, and after that a few other kids thought it was cool as well. It went well until a teacher saw us dueling outside the school area. Many parents were called. My dad said it was the most fun PT meeting ever. Not a teacher, but in my old school, a kid had a water gun and was squirting the kids with it. So when the teacher confiscated it, she began squirting him. Best teacher moment I have ever seen. A dildo. It was found in the school garden. The kid came up to me and said I found a ding dong in the garden and am taking it home for mum. I was not professional that day. So thoughtful. One time in high school my geometry teacher tried to take the phone of a kid who she thought was texting during class. Turns out, he had cut a hole in his jacket and was actually just masturbating.